I'm not sure either, but I do have another gentleman on the line. I'd like to bring him in because he fits in this conversation perfectly. His name is Christopher Alexander. Christopher, are you there?
I am.
Christopher, I have John Schroeder, State Treasurer, on the line, and I have Dr. John Merrifield, author of School System Reform: How and Why a Priceless Tale. And we're talking about, how we're dead last in the education system in Louisiana. And we're also talking about how school choice bills and many other bills that are really good bills for this state are being killed before they can even get out of the committee, or hijacked through staffers and then renumbered and then deferred. And this is where you come in. What can we do about this, Christopher?
Well, first of all, hello, John, the two Johns, and my first name is John. So you think that
John,
among
John,
among
The
John.
John
among
Show.
among three Johns, how can we possibly lose?
I agree with that.
I think we'll win. But it's good. It's good to talk to you guys. And Martha, thank you so much for having me on. Yes, I would agree that we are in bad shape when it comes to school choice in Louisiana because of the grip that the public school unions have on our education. And the notion that parents should not be able to use money to send their kids to whatever school they want to go to is just unbelievable to me. I don't understand that, but the issue that we have in the broad issue that we have in our legislature now is that there are way too many left-wing Republicans or liberal Republicans who are serving in our legislature, and until those individuals are exposed, called out, and defeated, nothing is going to change in our state. And I spent 2 years down there. I just finished my second year down at the legislative session. And what I used to somewhat vaguely appreciate in theory, I now understand from a very practical viewpoint, which is that many Republicans in our legislature who are supposed to be honoring the will of their constituents are enriching themselves and enriching one another, and then going and telling their constituents that they are faithful conservatives.
Hold
And their
that thought.
constituents,
Would you please hold that
yeah,
thought, John, John, and
sure.
John? We'll be right back. This is Liberty or Lockdown. All right, we welcome again State Treasurer John Schroeder. We have Dr. John Merrifield, author of School System Reform, and Christopher Alexander with Louisiana Citizens Advocacy Group. So, Christopher, will you pick up where you left off, please?
Sure. I think it's time at this critical stage in our state's history, at where we are right now, we have to stop beating around the bush. And if we're not going to start calling out the liberal Republicans in our legislature who are killing good conservative legislation, killing the conservative agenda, enriching themselves and their friends, and passing legislation that does that, nothing's going to change. We beat around the bushes, we clip around the edges, but until we cut the poisonous root out, nothing will change. As I was telling y'all earlier, I spent 2 years down at the legislature, and I saw exactly what occurs there on a daily basis. We have many liberal Republicans down there whose constituents are quite conservative, and they go in and they kill good conservative legislation in committee because the special interest groups to which they're beholden have told them to do that, but they kill it in committee, or they simply don't show up for committee and vote for it there. And because they're killing it in a covert way, their actions do not show up on a conservative voter scorecard. So you have the groups that put out things that actually a scorecard for legislation that actually went to the full chamber, okay, and they voted for it there. So they end up with an 80 or an 85, 90% conservative approval rating. But you never found out about the vitally important conservative legislation that those same Republicans killed in their committees. And I saw it, and I compiled a list on behalf of Louisiana Citizens Advocacy Group of 13 bills, 12 of which were fundamentally important to conservatives across Louisiana, and every one of those bills was killed by rhino conservatives in our legislature.
And let me interrupt. Let me interrupt you first.
Well, no, let me just talk for a second.
Okay.
Until we do something about that, nothing will change.
Okay, I wanted to point out that there's a link to that article that you wrote on our libertyorlockdown.live website. Pull down to the weekly show notes. It's from Monday the 27th or Tuesday the 28th. It's the article that you wrote, and I love the picture on it. There's a big old rhino.
You got to give Scott McKay from the Hayride credit for that, my brother.
Okay.
But I think John Schroeder, and I believe also John Merrifield would agree with me substantially that we have to have constitutionalists in our legislature if we're going to advance good legislation and prevent bad legislation from becoming law. And it will not only will it help the citizens of Louisiana most fundamentally, but it will help the leaders, other conservative leaders in our state, like our governor, which could be John Schroeder. And, it would make it easier if he had a legislature that would work with him and assist him in doing the good things for Louisiana that I know he wants to do. But as long as we have 20 or 25 rhino Republicans in the legislature, one of whom, Clay Scheck-Snyder, is actually beholden to the Democratic caucus because he wouldn't have been elected as the Speaker of the House if he hadn't compromised himself to the Democratic caucus. If we had a different speaker, then that would also help things an awful lot in there.
John Schroeder.
Look, we could talk about this for a couple of days. I spent 9.5 years in that body. I was kicked off the Appropriations Committee as a third-year freshman legislator. Look, I know the tools they use, and at the end of the day, y'all, we can talk about Republicans and this, that, and the other. It all revolves around money. This is all about legislators being able to bring home projects to their districts and not ticking off the leadership in order to get that, no matter what that costs. And, that you have Republicans who come, let's face it, from areas that aren't as conservative as, per se, Mandeville and Covington, Louisiana. I couldn't get away with some of the things that I watch some Republicans do where I come from, but they get away with it because their constituency allows it. I mean, just look what goes on. I mean, look at the crime in New Orleans, and I don't hear some outcry from any politicians. Maybe J.P. Morrell, Helene Moreno, quiet. I mean, I could go on and on.
Yeah.
What happens in Baton Rouge revolves around money.
Well, John, I agree with you in significant part with regard to Orleans Parish, because Orleans Parish, I think, is an outlier in Louisiana. But I would venture to say that, let's just say, for instance, where I come from, Caddo Parish, Bossier Parish, these districts up there that these Republicans are elected in are very conservative districts. And I do believe that many of the constituents that vote these people into office really are not aware of what they're doing in the legislature. And the goal of our organization, Louisiana Citizen Advocacy Group, is to make sure that these constituents have accurate information directly from us regarding, for instance, a bill a bodily autonomy bill regarding vaccines and medical procedures that 4 Republicans killed in committee. It was Representative Kathy Edmonston's bill, and all the bill said was that, was Beryl Amade's bill, I'm sorry. But all the bill said was that all it did was codify a core constitutional guarantee of bodily autonomy, that every Louisiana citizen has a right to make their own medical decisions, including whether or not to get a vaccine, and no government can coerce or harass or discriminate against that person because they choose not to be vaccinated. It is a core constitutional guarantee. We vitally needed that bill because of the history of coercion and lockdowns and all the tyrannical actions of our government over the past 2 years in this state. We needed it desperately. And the bill was killed by 4 Republicans in committee. Do you think if their constituents in Louisiana, particularly in North Louisiana, knew that they had done that they would be reelected? I guarantee you they would not be.
Look, it depends on, I can tell you, I've pushed major legislation, and it typically dies from 4, 5, 6, 7 legislators.
Republicans usually,
yeah.
But John, my point is, John, we have a super majority in one of the houses in the Senate, and we have a clear majority in the other one. These are Republicans who are killing our agenda. These are not we all know where the Democrats are going to go. These are Republicans. So this is an issue within our own party. It is our own party that is killing the conservative agenda. Why does nobody say that?
Let me be very clear. I know that, but they're using money to do it. That's the only reason they're doing it. They are placing their votes based on money.
Because it's funding.
I've seen it happen over and over and over. They're looking for things in their districts, and they're willing to give up votes certain places to get it. And
we need to look into that.
Way. So I would tell y'all, if I was in charge, if I was king for a day, I would remove the ability to do that. I would revamp the entire capital outlay process and not allow the governor or the legislature to use it to browbeat or block legislation. We should be voting up or down on legislation on what's good or bad, not based on whether I need oak trees or sidewalks in my district. And that's a fact. I don't disagree with anything you say, John, but I'm telling you, behind the scenes, those legislators are willing to do what they're doing because they've been promised something else.
Right.
And that's just the bottom line. That's how how
and John, John, let me ask you this. Do you think that part of what you're saying, the fact that the governor threatens some of these representatives to pull funding from their districts if they support certain legislation?
Absolutely. And it's done from the day the bills are filed. So this is not something that goes on. And then, look, some leaders do it different ways. Look, I was pulled off Appropriations Committee only to be voted back on by my peers, okay, because I didn't toe the line. There was nothing that they could give me to buy my vote.
That's what happened with Ray Garofalo. He's pulled off the Education Committee. Because he was trying to introduce the banning of CRT. And the crazy thing is that the Black Caucus, which I can't I can't grip my mind around, told Scheck Snyder basically if, he doesn't vote against this or that they won't, it had something to do with funding again, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it had something to do with funding. So, well, we have 48 seconds. We're going to go on a quick break. If you guys, this is our last segment. We'll wrap up real quick. All right. Thank you, Treasurer of State John Schroeder. Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Continue this. All righty.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Christopher Alexander. If you want to hold real quick, we'll wrap up with you and Dr. Merrifield. And I have a special guest, Patrice Lewis, on hold. We'll be right back. This is Liberty or Lockdown. Welcome back to Liberty or Lockdown. We're having a great show today. I hope you listeners out there are enjoying all this information. We have Dr. John Merrifield still on the line with us and a dear friend of mine, Christopher Alexander with Louisiana Citizens Advocacy Group. Christopher, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
And Dr. Merrifield, are you there?
I'm still here.
Well, I want to give you two an opportunity to say something real quick before we let you off the line. Dr. Merrifield?
Yeah, I hate to end kind of on a sour note, but my disappointment here is that we only filed one bill when we went into this process. I was unpleasantly surprised that the plan by our legislators in our group was to file several bills. One like the one that Representative Garofalo filed, but also another one looking into this targeted economic development through school choice, and maybe a hybrid bill. And part of the reason to do that was not necessarily because we thought they would pass, although, you never know. But it's to get more of these folks that Christopher / John is talking about on record so that we can get rid of them.
Yeah.
Get them to oppose things like economic development for poor areas. Get them to oppose things like non-discrimination for children, and to favor discriminating against some children. When we'll have something to run them out of town on. Maybe we can still file some of those additional approaches to school choice. I hope we do before the session ends, just to get people on the record for how the bills were killed. And who knows, maybe we'll get lucky at the end and it'll get in the flurry at the last minute and get passed.
Yeah. Right.
John, will you do me a favor and make sure that you, hopefully somebody, or I will send you a copy of our legislative summary that our group did, and in any contacts you have in Louisiana, which I know that you've built up, make sure that they get a copy of that, because we specifically mentioned these representatives by name, the ones who sabotage the agenda, the ones who killed good legislation, and I will make sure that you get that. And I appreciate all the good work that you're doing, and I know that we will get a bill similar to the one that Representative Garofalo filed this year, and we will get it passed. And once we knock these rhinos out of the legislature, and you know what? Once we get one or two of them out of there, and they know we mean business, they're going to start listening and they're going to start cooperating with us. But we have to be relentless in our determination to do these things. Representative Garofalo's bill was a great bill.
Yes, it was.
A wonderful bill, and it is a crying shame. Martha, was it a Republican who killed that bill?
It was Lori Schlegel, Representative Schlegel.
Okay,
And it was given to her by Clay Schexnayder. So how they duplicated the bill, apparently came from the staffer. It was leaked, and then they put another number on it. So our 10-page bill from Garofalo was leaked by a staffer. They put another number on it, and then she submitted it the day before Garofalo, so it appeared that it was hers, but it wasn't. It was our bill. He was just holding on to it a little longer, just reviewing it, and put it in on the next day, not knowing that her bill was 10 pages identical to our 10 pages. Not a word changed. Not a word changed. They were identical.
So
and they're blaming Garofalo. They
Yeah.
said he copied their bill. Labi says that Garofalo. So listen, we have to go because I have a caller on the line and I want to take her real quick. Gentlemen, you are such a blessing to the state of Louisiana, and we love you. Thank you for all your hard work.
God bless you, Martha.
Thank y'all. All right, we have Patrice Lewis on the line. And this young lady here, Patrice, I know we're not going to have a lot of time with you, so we're going to get you to call back in. You'll be first up next Thursday. Patrice Lewis was born and raised in Opelousas, Louisiana, where she currently resides. She's a graduate of Opelousas High School. She attended the University of Louisiana at Lafayette from 2000-2004, where she graduated magna cum laude of her class. Very impressive. After interning at a pregnancy center and clinic, which is the oldest crisis pregnancy center in the Lafayette area, but she was offered a job as a client advocate in 2004 and was soon promoted to administrative assistant that same year. After serving as administrative assistant for 7 years, Patrice was offered the position of executive director at a pregnancy center in clinic in 2011 and has served in that position ever since. God birthed a desire in Patrice's heart to see women value themselves and respect themselves, and that is the call that she is answering through the work she does at a pregnancy center clinic. Welcome, Patrice. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Thank you for having me. How are y'all?
Excellent. Excellent. So I was very impressed by you at the LAGOP Victory 2022 conference. Just talk to our listeners because we only have about 3 or 4 minutes, and we want to give it to you.
That's fine. So, yes, so a pregnancy center and clinic is one of many crisis pregnancy centers in our state and in our country. And what we do every day is we help women who are considering abortion to choose life for their babies. And so when you think about a post-Roe Louisiana, post-Roe America, and everyone's wondering, okay, what does that really look like? How does that practically come into being? And it is through the work of pregnancy centers, because we're the hands and feet of Jesus, but we're that tangible touch that abortion-minded woman has that will love on her, talk to her, be there for her. And so post-Roe, Louisiana, America is possible, and we get to see that on a daily basis.
Yes, it is. I'm so excited. I mean, we are living in some wonderful days. These are wonderful times ahead of us, and it's a blessing to be alive right now.
That's right. I was on a call earlier with, I was invited to be on a call, and A.G. Landry was sharing the legal landscape. And one thing he said that we all need to do is focus on the win, and that is that we have won. Now, there are some legal battles happening, but we're not to be deterred. We have won the battle.
Can you give me a website where you can be reached, please? I'll post it on our website.
Yes, we can be reached at www.apcclafayette.org.
Okay, what was that? AP?
One more time.
APCC, so a pregnancy center and clinic.
Okay.
APCC Lafayette, which is where we're located, Lafayette.org.
Okay.
We have 1 minute.
Yeah,
say what you have to say, and we're going to give you the last minute. We're going to put that link on our website, and you're going to come back next week, and we're going to start with you.
Excellent. So just really thankful to God for the victory on Friday. Many people, I have not been alive as long as Roe v. Wade has been around. So I'm fortunate to stand on their shoulders of all those who have worked all these years to usher in this movement and to be a part of what God is doing to save more lives and more women and to really build families back to what God originally intended. So it's a great day to be serving him for such a time as this.
It most certainly is, and that's an Esther anointing. I like that.
Thank you very much, and thank you for what you do.
Yes, you're very welcome, and we will, remember, put this on your calendar because you're first up next week, okay?
Okay.
We hope
yes,
that you
ma'am.
come back because we have a lot to talk about with this Roe versus Wade and what's going on here in Louisiana. And I know not to focus on the negative, but we have a civil judge who is the one who stepped in and blocked the trigger law for Louisiana. And what does that civil judge have anything to do with the process proceeding, right?
Yes.
So,
yes, ma'am.
all right, Patrice, we'll see you next Thursday. This is Liberty or Lockdown. The Lord bless you.